Hey everyone, this is the final video of the semester and it does not include an assignment. What it is just some bits of advice that I have for people just starting out after school for your next steps and things to keep in mind as you're building up your career, particularly right at the beginning. Now, you might know a bunch of this stuff already, but bear with me, it's just short, just watch it. And, you might pick up some new tips. I'm not sure if you've heard of a credit score. A credit score is where there's this background mechanism that keeps track of if you pay your bills or not. Do you pay your rent on time? Do you pay your credit card on time? Do you pay your car payment on time? Do you overspend on your credit card and go into default? It keeps track of all of this stuff. And this is a way for people that want to give you a loan to see how credit worthy you are. And that goes for renting an apartment, buying a house, and sometimes actually being hired. The people that might hire you will check your credit score because they want to know if you're a deadbeat or not, or if you're slightly, underwhelming on the money side. So it's something to keep track of. And the way you do that is you pay your bills. And you do stuff on time. And if you can't pay off your whole credit card, you pay something. But honestly, if you can't pay off your credit card by the end of the month, then you're spending too much money. And you might want to stop spending so much money. To that end, every designer coming out of school needs to build up an emergency fund. An emergency fund is 3 to 6 months worth of bills in the bank that you have just in case of an emergency. Now, what kind of emergencies have we had recently? Well, we had COVID. COVID knocked loads of people out of their jobs, and all of a sudden they were screwed. If you have that backup fund, then you can probably survive the storm until whatever it is comes out the other end. The stock market is very peculiar these days. There might be another recession. A recession means fewer jobs available. There's AI coming along. Might mean fewer jobs are available, or maybe new kinds of jobs are coming on stream that you are not necessarily prepared for. We'll talk about that in a sec. You want that emergency fund, particularly if you're doing freelance. I worked, as I've said before, as a freelance for years, and I really liked it, but it always helped to have money in the bank just in case all of a sudden I didn't get any work for 6 weeks. Could be 6 months. So take care of yourself that way. When you do get a job, be a nice person. Say what you're going to do, and then you do it. You deliver on what you say you're going to do. If your boss asks you to do something, do it. It's pretty basic stuff. The more you do what you say you're going to do, then the more you're trusted with responsibility, the more interesting projects you get to do, and the more you can be promoted. And you get more money when you are promoted. You might be wondering why I have different clothes on and the light is totally different. Well, last night when I was recording the video, the cat jumped on the keyboard and I didn't realize but stopped the recording. So I only have half of it done, so now I'm doing the other half. Anyway, today's Friday and you are still going to have the portfolio review later today, so I'll talk about that in a sec. But let me pick up where I left off yesterday, and I was about to tell you the story of my friend Fiona, who works for Condé Nast. Condé Nast publishes GQ and Vogue and The New Yorker and all these high-flying magazines, and she's had an incredible career going all over the world, creative directing other magazines in other countries. Really cool. But we started out at an office in London, about 15 designers in this room. And this is her first gig out of school, and she was a little gal, and she's scruffy, and she would turn up every day, half an hour early, to get everything ready. And she would always be the last one to leave. She would spend her not very much money that we were paid, the extra money she had, she would spend on magazines, because this was a magazine office. And she was very quiet, but it was very clear to everyone there that she was the one who loved it all the most. So this magazine called the Radio Times, it went out to pretty much everybody in the entire UK, and it was millions and millions of magazines. So this is a big deal. So one day they decided to redesign the magazine. So they hired in this, hotshot designer, and he needed an assistant. So he walks into the art room and looks around the room, and Fiona was the one who got the gig. And she did it because she demonstrated her passion for the work, her skills, and her interests outside of work, and just, really getting to know this kind of industry, this kind of design aesthetic, and getting really good at the technology. So people notice what you do. It's taken me a long time to realize this, but people do notice how you act and what kind of attention you give to your work. So this is an important thing to maintain and to be aware of in an office situation. Again, you're demonstrating your value and you're demonstrating your creativity, and that's how you get the good gigs. So when you're applying for a job, people say things like, I applied for 40 jobs this week. What tends to happen is you do a carbon copy out to all these other people, carbon copy, digital copy of everything that you've put in the cover letter, the same thing out to everybody. I would suggest that you focus in on the jobs that you really want, or the ones that you think you're really suited to, and tailor your cover letter the way we've been doing all semester. Tailor your cover letter to that job. So if they say they want somebody who knows a bit of After Effects but is really great in Photoshop, make sure you mention that in the cover letter. And then again, display some personality. What kind of person you are. Why do you love this kind of stuff? Why do you think you're really good for the job? And not just all that AI, design, accessibility, visual communication, talk about yourself as a person. And I heard a story, and I've mentioned this to at least one of you, just 2 weeks ago. A friend of mine, her son was looking for an internship, working in a bike shop. And he wrote one of these AI type cover letters, or had it written for him. And his mother looked at it, and she put in the fact that he cycles all the time and he loves bicycling, and this is kind of a dream job for him. He got the internship in a second, and the reason they said that was because they got all these resumes and all these cover letters that were obviously written by ChatGPT. They were kind of identical. But he was the one that said, this is how this appeals to me as a human being, my strengths and the things that I'm totally into. So don't send out 40, send out like 5 or 10, but make sure you're directing it at the needs of that company that will align with your needs and desires. It could be that you get a job and you're there for a year and a half or so, or even a year, but you're still on the same pay as you were when you started. Junior designers don't make a ton of money. So first of all, congratulations. That's an accomplishment. But you really need more money. You really want more money. You really deserve more money. So you set up a meeting with your boss. Before you get in there, you have in the back of your mind that this isn't going to work. So if he turns you down, you say, okay, I knew this probably wasn't going to work, so I'm not going to be too disappointed, but at least I'm going to give it a shot. The other thing to keep in your back of your mind is that this might work. This could work really well. And there's a bunch of reasons why that might happen. So first of all, you assess yourself. You say, okay, I've been here for a year and a half. What have I done? I've worked in the X department. I'm in charge of the Y project. I've worked with this team. I get along with my coworkers. We back each other up. I think I bring good value to the company, and I would like a raise. And then they might hem and haw, and they might say, oh, well, raise season isn't until June or July. So just, wait it out. Or they might say, sorry, we don't have the budget for it. Or they might say, yeah, sure, that's great. Go for it. Let me talk to the other guys and we'll figure out what your raise will be. So there's these different possibilities. If they say no, again, you say, okay, thanks anyway. If they say no, that's their prerogative. They run the company. But now they know you want a raise. Now they have this in their head that Louisa is looking for more money. Now, if she can't get it at my company, she might get it at another company. So then they might take the weekend and come back on Monday and say, I really don't want to have to hire somebody again. And I know she's going to be dissatisfied with this job, and she's probably going to be looking for another job. So why don't I give her a raise? And then, oh, yeah, come over here, Louise. I thought about it over the weekend and said, yeah, maybe we can work something out. The raise season isn't until June, but I could give you a small promotion, which will allow you to get a plan. The thing is, hiring people is a huge pain in the ass. You gotta, as a hiring person, you gotta gather in all these resumes. You gotta read through all these cover letters. You gotta check out all these websites or PDFs. They'd really rather not have to do that. So depending on the outfit, there's a pretty good chance that it'll work. But also, don't be disappointed if you don't get the raise, but realize all of a sudden that you're somebody that works and that you have value. You are bringing value to that company. They have now recognized that you're valuable to that company. So now you're not just, Louisa hanging out at the office, that's great, you do some work and then you go home. This is actually a valuable person in your company. So that's important to keep your mind on when you're in a work situation, because it's easy to think, thank God I have a job, which, having a job is important. People aren't actually your friends. They're a company. They're there to make money. So are you. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Anyway, more on that. Talk to me if you want to talk to me more about this kind of stuff. Okay, AI. You've hopefully got some AI stuff in your portfolio. The person who's done the best job this semester is Eugene, who some of you know. She's done a cat rap video. It's on her website, and I recommend that you go check it out. It's esdesignarts.com/#AI, which I'm going to put on the screen and also in the notes below. And the reason that it's good, it's funny, but she's done the music and drawing the characters and having the movement. It's motion and everything and dancing around and stuff. And she wrote lyrics that the AI took and built upon, and she's documented it really well, really clear and simply. And I don't think she gives the prompts. You don't need to give the prompts. That's how you operate. You don't have to advertise that to the world. But what they are saying is the construction of the AI. And they say, oh, this person can figure this stuff out. That's really good. So yeah, check that one out. And again, keep exploring AI, because whether you love it or you hate it, this is what our world is becoming. So it's important to do that. Good. So when you start making any kind of money, I recommend that you start a pension. And this can be an IRA, individual retirement account. There's 401ks. I don't really know all the jargon around it. If you're hired by a company, often when you put money into your pension, the employer will also put money into your pension. And if you start doing this at a young age, early 20s, it's a really smart thing to do. Really, really smart thing to do. If you start early and do little bits every month, over time, it catapults into serious amounts of value, so that when you do retire, you've got money to live on. There's a state pension now. There may not be then. Or if it is, it probably is not going to pay your bills. So you want to have a comfortable life after you've stopped working. So I started doing this in my mid-30s, which was a really dumb idea. And I'm fine. I've got various little pensions. My husband's got various little pensions. It ends up being about $400,000 that I live off the interest of that. Which, I live in a cheap place. It's not a big deal. If I'd started at your age, it would be more like $1.5 million or possibly more. It really makes a difference if you start early, just little bits and little bits and little bits. Again, with your emergency fund and your pension, you're not going crazy. You're not blowing all your money. But once a week, don't buy a sandwich for lunch. Make it instead, and take what you would have spent on that sandwich and put it in one of those funds. Have it automatically come out of your account so you don't even see it coming and going. It's really easy to do, and it will really make a big difference when you're older and you'll look back on yourself and you'll say, my young self was really smart. My young self took her time, took way too much time to start. You will do better. We live in a computer world, as you know better than most. We're staring at laptops all day, we're staring at phones all day. It's important to do things that don't involve computers. And this means socializing with people, talking to them, having activities that don't involve any kind of digital interaction. When I was younger, everybody, all the designers in my office, did some form of martial arts. Martial arts or dance. They would do ballet, they would do judo. I did karate, because we were so twiddly and fiddly all day long. It's like, you got to bust out, you got to do something. There's loads of things you can do. Take walks, go cycling, do free stuff. It's not like you have to pay for everything, but doing non-digital things is really important. It's also a good way to meet people. This can be career people, this can be friends, girlfriends, boyfriends. It's very easy to get lonely, and it's easy to get sort of separated from people because when we're in school, we're surrounded by people all the time. Other young people are doing the same thing that we are, and you can make great friends just because you're sitting next to somebody. This changes when you get out into the real world. So keep that in your head. I got to keep up my social connections. If I have nothing to do, I can go to a design event and meet some people, hand out my business cards, chat, hang out. You hear stuff, you meet people, it's a good idea. Okay, cooking. Cooking is a very good skill to learn if you don't know it already. You order Uber Eats, you go to, Shake Shack. All these things are nice and delicious, but it adds up. It really adds up quickly. If you want to save money, the best way you can do it is by making your own food. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can just be nice, delicious sandwiches. But grocery shopping is a lot cheaper than like sandwich shopping or just takeout shopping. Also, it's more nutritious. You get less crap in your food because you know exactly what's going in there. There's a million videos on YouTube that will explain to you different kind of stuff. They have different cultures, French cooking, Japanese cooking, Russian cooking. Try some of that and notice how much money you save by doing that, because it really does make a big difference. It's also an impressive thing to do for your new girlfriend or boyfriend. When things go badly, there's always going to be times in your life when things go badly. You break up with somebody, somebody dies, you lose your job. Unfortunately, this is normal. And it's the normal way to react to that is to feel like shit. And it's good to not pretend it's not happening. It is happening, and you got to get through it. The more you feel it as you get through it, but still push through, the better you'll recover on the other end. It's a natural process of feeling horrible, and then things get better. But they do get better. Everything gets better. And if you are feeling flailing and you feel like you need a counselor, that's absolutely the best thing to do. You also have friends. You also have family, people that care about you. Tell them you want a hug. Tell them you want to, have a conversation about what's going on. I can't figure out what's going on. I don't know what to do. People love to help, and they love to tell you what to do. So yes, keep that going. So finally, we live in a democracy. That means that we can put our say in about who runs the country. Some of you come from countries where democracy is limited or non-existent, so you probably know more about what I'm talking about. In America, democracy is under threat. The right to vote is being discouraged. It's not being banned, it's being discouraged, which is the easiest thing to do. Like people say, oh, don't bother voting, it doesn't make any difference. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. To me, there's always a choice between good and bad, or bad and worse. That's the most important one. You could hate somebody, but they'd still be better than that awful, awful other person. It's also important to just get in the habit of keeping an eye on what's going on in your neighborhood, in your city, in your country, and putting your 2 cents in. Sometimes the the difference of voting, of who wins, is like, 20 or 30 votes that just tip the balance. So your vote really can matter. And I'm not advocating for a particular person here. There's no immediate election coming up. But little elections pop up along the way. If a congressman dies in office, then they'll have a little mini election. So you got to be ready for that. And how do you get ready for that? You register to vote. This is my final class at City Tech. And I've been working here for 20 years. And I really enjoyed it. And you've been my last class, and it's been really enjoyable. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And your final business card, resume, cover letter, portfolio PDF, put them in the folders called Final PDFs in your Dropbox. And while I'm not going to be working at City Tech anymore, you still have my email. If you want, this is the Hotmail one, the old-fashioned one. You still have that, so if you need a reference, you need a advice about anything, or you just want to say hello and tell me how you're doing, which I'd love to hear, just, drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. If any of you want to be in touch with me this week, definitely do it. I think my school email will last sort of till mid-January or so. Otherwise, good luck at the portfolio review, and have a great Christmas.